A city so corrupt, so dark that fire fell from the sky. Sodom and Gomorrah. The names echo through time as symbols of sin and destruction. But what really happened that day? For centuries, Sodom and Gomorrah have represented divine punishment, a cautionary tale etched into the foundations of Judeo-Christian belief. These weren't just wicked cities, they were warnings carved in ash. But beyond the biblical text, beyond the sermons and symbolism, could there be more to the story? What if the fire wasn't purely spiritual? What if something cataclysmic, a natural or even extraterrestrial event, brought their downfall? This isn't just about ancient ruins. This is about uncovering the reality behind myth. Because somewhere, between scripture and science, lies a truth waiting to be unearthed. Join us as we uncover a mystery buried beneath centuries of belief, fear, and fascination. The sins of Sodom. Genesis says the men of Sodom were wicked and sinners before the Lord exceedingly. But what was their true sin? The traditional view paints them as sexual deviants, but other scholars argue the real issue was their arrogance, inhospitality, and violence toward strangers, especially those who were vulnerable. Ezekiel 16:49 even points to pride, gluttony, and neglect of the poor. Could it be that their moral decay was more societal than personal? Was their sin less about action and more about attitude? How they treated outsiders? How they lived selfishly without compassion? Some interpretations suggest Sodom's evil wasn't merely immoral, it was systemic, a civilization that forgot its humanity. Maybe the sin wasn't just against God, but against the very foundation of what keeps societies alive: empathy. And perhaps this deeper corruption is what finally invited destruction from the heavens. Fire from heaven, Lot is warned. Angels arrive disguised as men, and by dawn, fire rains from the sky. The cities are engulfed in flame and smoke. Lot's wife, in a moment of longing or doubt, turns back and is frozen in time, turned to salt, according to the Bible. But what if that wasn't just symbolism? What if that part of the story, too, has a basis in reality? Volcanic eruptions, meteor blasts, and sudden shock waves have the power to preserve bodies in ash or salt. Her fate becomes more than a metaphor. It becomes a chilling visual. The idea that divine fire fell from heaven isn't just poetic, it could be observational. Something lit up the sky and vaporized cities overnight. Whatever fell from above was no ordinary storm. The destruction was total, and the memory of that fire echoes through history, forcing us to ask, was it supernatural or something terrifyingly natural? Archaeological evidence at el-Hammam. At a site in Jordan called el-Hammam, archaeologists have uncovered something extraordinary. Layers of melted pottery, burned stone foundations, and soil fused into glass. Evidence of intense, sudden heat. These aren't just remnants of war or fire. The temperatures required to produce these conditions surpass anything an ancient city could create with tools of the time. Researchers believe this site could be the historical Sodom. What's more, carbon dating places the destruction around 1650 BCE, strikingly close to the estimated biblical timeline. The sheer violence preserved in the ruins tells a story of catastrophe, not battle. One moment, bustling life. The next, total obliteration. Could this be the smoking gun that links the myth to real history? With every shard, every layer of ash, the past whispers of fiery truth that science is only beginning to decipher. The heat, the chaos, it all points to something explosive and cosmic. Was it a meteor strike? Some scientists believe a cosmic blast, not divine fire, ended Sodom. A meteor, exploding above the city in an airburst, could create temperatures hotter than molten lava, instantly flattening buildings and igniting the ground. This isn't science fiction. A similar event happened in 1908 in Tunguska, Siberia, flattening over 2,000 square kilometers of forest without leaving an impact crater. The airburst theory explains the intense heat in the glass-like soil found at el-Hammam. In fact, one peer-reviewed study details how the destruction pattern in Jordan matches an aerial explosion. People could have been vaporized in an instant. Was God's fire actually a meteor's fury? Could this be one of the few moments where science and scripture describe the same event from two different angles? If a space rock obliterated Sodom, then perhaps divine wrath and natural disaster aren't opposites. They're two sides of the same mysterious coin. Moral collapse and divine judgment. Whether meteor or miracle, the message is clear. Corruption has consequences. The fall of Sodom wasn't just about an isolated sin. It was the climax of a society that lost its moral compass. Even without fire from above, such cultures often destroy themselves. Psychology backs this up. Societies that become obsessed with power, wealth, and pleasure often collapse from within. They rot before they burn. In that sense, Sodom becomes a mirror, a warning to any civilization that forgets compassion, justice, and humility. Divine judgment may not always come with thunder and flame. It can come quietly, through apathy and decay. The story, whether taken literally or symbolically, teaches that unchecked corruption, when empathy dies and pride reigns, leads to ruin. And when it does, the fall is not only sudden, it's total. Perhaps the fire wasn't the punishment. Perhaps it was just the final, inevitable spark. Sodom and Gomorrah may lie buried beneath ancient sands, their ruins forgotten by time, but their story isn't over. Whether you believe in divine wrath, cosmic catastrophe, or a tragic convergence of both, what matters is the message. These cities are more than ancient names. They're eternal warnings. When power silences kindness, when arrogance outweighs mercy, the clock starts ticking. Was their end caused by fire from heaven or a rock from space? Could it have been a divine choice to use nature as an instrument of judgment? One thing is undeniable: their legacy still burns. Every generation hears the story, and every society must ask, are we building something that lasts, or are we dancing in the shadow of our own destruction? Because if history tells us anything, it's this: what fell on Sodom wasn't just fire, it was truth, falling fast and leaving no second chance.